A very, very interesting topic, and in fact, very apt because I am in the middle of it. So if you were to go and ask a global CHRO of a large company, and when I define large in terms of people, is anything which is more than 30,000 people, okay? Any company that operates in more than 100 geographies, if you may like. Any company that is fast growing, growing at a speed of 20% year on year, and is gobbling an M&A half its size every 2 years. Well, that to me is a large and a complex company. And there are many organizations out there like that. If you were to go and ask the CHROs and the CEOs of these companies, how do you go about building an HR technology, architecture, platform, and applications that not only deliver a superior employee experience, but create value for business? Well, let me tell you, I'm not sure you'll have many people willing to engage with you in that kind of conversation. That's the context from which I'm going to be speaking, that as a HR person, if I was to ask you, okay, you as an HR person, what kind of HR technology are you talking about for your organization? You know, what are you talking about? Stay with that question, because we'll try and answer that question as we go along, okay? How dynamic the change is and how companies fall off the Fortune 500 list. Forget being the top employers and all, how they fall off the Fortune 500 list and how newer companies are taking over, and the so-called newer companies which took over 30 years ago are themselves falling off now. Okay, this has become a cycle, and a cycle which is quite vicious. It's unforgiving. But at the same time, there is not a single data source today or research that you have source which gives you data, whether it's Burson or it's Gartner or anything. The CHRO survey is the only one that you can refer to which kind of gives you some semblance, which picks up what's the total HR technology spend by companies, by sectors. It isn't there, okay? So if you go to any benchmarking companies like APQC or Hackett, to tell them that I'm benchmarking and building an efficient organization, can you help me? Or if you have an IBM or a TCS, like in our case, or an Accenture who are trying to help you with your effort, they try to get you that data, and they will give you the CHRO data, and they say that, Yash, there is no other credible data out there, so we just don't want to put it there, and which is very sad, because HR is the only stream for which there is no data available there, okay? Smaller the company, more expensive is the HR technology for it, because, of course, you don't have the scale to spread it on, okay? That could be one reason. Bigger the company, which is 10,000 plus, more economical or more efficient, because you're being able to spread it over scale, all right? I think that's the notion we have. No, but it's much, much more than that. The ability to negotiate, the ability to redraft your licenses is phenomenal as a large company that you have. Then, if I was to tell you, the HR technology market is the one which is booming. So if you were to talk to Burson by Deloitte, if you were to talk to Gartner, they will tell you that as the other technology, the software especially, and the services and solutions, businesses of the technology are kind of plateauing in the area of ERPs or in the area of, say, purchasing modules or MRP modules, etc. HR, it's booming. There are so many players entering every day. We have seen, and not now, from 2002 or 2003 when Oracle took over PeopleSoft for 9 or 9.6 billion or 10 billion US dollars, because they wanted a suite, and then we saw SAP took over SuccessFactors. And the same guys who had started PeopleSoft, the moment they came out of the license, started Workday, and today they are the biggest ERP again back in HR. So there are a lot of stories out there, which give a very strong message. But one of the things to remember in this is, and this was something which was put together by my team, because when we were looking at our HR IT architecture, we said, let's look at what's available in the market. And of course, then we gave out the RFPs, and we are almost there in terms of we have finalized our vendors. But what's interesting is there are solutions by processes, and there are solutions which cut across processes. There are en-suite solutions, there are standalone solutions. And when some of the vendors told us that, yes, we have implemented this in India, you can talk to this company. We actually gave calls to those companies saying that you just bought this solution or this service from this company. How is it working for you? Oh, it's really working very well for us. Can we visit you and try and understand what kind of an impact it is making? Because if we were to do something, we do it thoroughly, right? So we go. What really concerned me tremendously was many companies have bought solutions for which they do not have a process. So I had seen companies, they had bought solutions for knowledge management, while as they do not have a process or a culture of knowledge management in the company. And only 7 to 11 people were busy implementing that software, and there was huge excitement that now we have knowledge management software. So that kind of worried me, and that also told me not to do something, which you shouldn't. Because coming from companies like Philips, Johnson & Johnson, etc., you'd never do anything like this. So I was a bit taken aback, and I said, why is this happening? And that put a question in my head. Do the CHROs and the HR people take the HR technology seriously? Do the CEOs take it? Well, let me tell you the kind of company that I work for, and the CEO that I have, like Mr. Dilip Sanghvi. When we sit down and we discuss what kind of HR technology do we want, the first thing the CEO begins is with employee experience, not cost, not even business impact. It begins with employee experience. So, Mr. Dilip Sanghvi, myself and our CIO, we sit down for 6 hours to design our HR IT architecture without a single consultant in the room. We sit down and we design our architecture first. That what is it that we want, which will be on premise? What is it that we want, which will be in cloud? What is it that we will buy in cloud, where we will still have the data ownership and control on premise, because we want to de-risk our organization. And then we create an HR IT architecture, application. That is the process, what is required. That's the kind of commitment, learning that's required from a CHRO. You just cannot leave it to a CIO. Now, another one, of course, I'm putting here not something that you haven't seen, okay? So when you look at it from a device point of view, from desktop, things are moving, to mobile and smart devices, to mostly they will move into bring your own Internet of Things. Today there's a whole lot of a cool quotient or a cool factor around being able to work from home, right? Many companies have done it at scale. Some of us struggle to do it at scale, but are trying our best. But anyone who gets a chance to work from home, it's a very cool kind of a thing. Trust me, in 10 years from now, if you get to work in an office, that will be the coolest thing. Because you will be required to work from home. This is one of my absolute future predictions of work. And especially the way the real estate costs are going in all the emerging markets, 100%. The way the technology is improving, the way the security protocols are improving, absolutely, okay? But how much of it does it work? So there are companies which have leapfrogged. Companies like Nestle, companies like Sun. We leapfrogged from laptops. We have 42,000 employees. We never had to go through that phase of issuing 42,000 laptops and then maintaining it and servicing it. I think we used to still operate on a 10,000 laptop kind of a pool, okay? Where we have leapfrogged and we have straight gone to mobile. So every technology today in Sun, you will be able to access it on mobile in 2 years from now. Core you can even today, but that's what it is. But it's fast moving, because the mobile functionality will further improve. So you got to keep the hardware progress in mind, but this is key. This is key. How the software has moved from an Excel, which was a predominant software, and we went into MIS, then ERP, then cloud, and now we are talking about Industry 4. But most important, and you know, they say that all this is on premise, anything from here you go which is on cloud is not on premise. Well, you've got to understand that. There is nothing such as you have cloud which is not in premise. We are talking to Cornerstone on demand for an on-suite solution, along with Oracle, along with IBM. And all three of them are willing to give us a cloud solution where we will have the data on premise with us. And if we were to do a federation is nothing but it's a portability. If you were to change your cloud service provider, and if you were to move your data from one cloud to the other, they call it federation, you can still do the federation. So that completely tanks, you know, the entire idea of cloud. Okay, so then what does cloud mean? Well, I would encourage you to understand that. Very key and core to understanding. Now, this is an example of a very simple yet a powerful architecture, okay? So first goal I had in mind was again not around employee experience. That was the goal of my boss. My first goal for HR technology was cost. So my boss's first goal was employee experience, my first goal was cost, and my CIO's first goal was cybersecurity. It was very interesting. These were our three priorities, okay? Competing priorities. And we said, all right, so all three become a priority. And then, thereafter, we went and we have created a simple, you know, this is on-premise. So this is all going to be in SAP, on-premise. This on-suite will go to one of the best vendors. It's going to be in cloud, with the data being on-premise, completely being with us. And, of course, in 12 months' time, we should be able to do analytics, because we had already created a data warehouse, so we have enough data to mine on, because it's a 28-year-old company, okay? So there is tremendous amount of data, and a proper data warehouse is being created to be able to mine that data too. And all this needs to be delivered at below $100 per employee. And the good news is, it's all come together, meeting all the three objectives, and which is phenomenal. Let me end and tell, again, you know, these are slides which I've just put there in terms of what kind of change, et cetera, you have to manage, but let's not forget the millennial workforce that is coming into or becoming a part of your workforce. The way they look at an experience of a HR service or a solution is very different from the way a baby boomer looks at it. And you got to keep that in mind, because you are building something for the future. You're not building it for now or the past. Keep that in mind, bear that in mind. I have already talked about this, key considerations. Many will say cost is not. Well, let me tell you, if as a CHRO, if you let your HR technology cost spiral upwards, tomorrow you will be on a cost-cutting drive and you will be made to scrape the barrel somewhere else. Be responsible. Day one. There are many solutions out there which look very sexy. $400 per person, and they think that they will deliver gold to you, but they don't. Last but not the least, the role of HR and its technology is to innovatively create and deliver superior employee experience. As long as you keep this in mind, and then develop your HR, IT architecture, application, platforms, everything, you will win. Make sure it is connected end to end. Everything, it doesn't matter what your base ERP is or what your base ANP or OM is. That's your backbone, but doesn't matter what it is. Make sure you choose the others wisely. Make sure you test it. Make sure you have seen it, how it works or not. So it's not that there are technologies which are superior or better than others. I think all of them are good. Huh? When you talk about Cornerstone, when you talk about Workday, PeopleSoft, which is now Oracle, all of that, they're all good. What is the need of your organization? What kind of employee experience you want to create? What's your cost budget? How will you measure the quality of your delivery and service? Get clear on some of these fundamentals. Design the IT architecture yourself and not allow the CIO to design it. Get it designed by your own team and not only involve your team in its execution. That's what makes a difference. That's what makes a difference at a large global corporation level. So happy to have shared some of my own experiences with you, and happy to have shared a a real life story of what we are doing at Sun. This is exactly what is happening.